So thank you everyone for joining us in person. Thank you for those of us joining us online and in Zoom. This is our second doubleheader presentation for July here. And I'm not going to spend a ton of time giving announcements because we have a really exciting program today, so I want to spend as much time as possible giving them the platform here. But my name is Anco. I am the curator of the Draper Natural History Museum today. And today we have an incredible program with our Swiss colleagues in the graduate program of Anthropology. And this is going to blend a beautiful combination of both the cultural and the human element to the nature element. And as we're going to see in today's presentations, that they are not separate entities, and these are very much intertwined. So if you can all just do me one quick favor, if you would take your electronic mobile cellular devices, if you would turn that all the way down so that it does not go off during today's lecture, that would help keep any interruptions to a minimum. So I'm going to pass this over to my colleague, Dr. Gordon Ambrosino, before we introduce our orator today, Professor Tobias Haller. Thank you.
Thank you, Corey, and thank you all for coming here today. We really appreciate your presence. I also want to thank our colleagues from coming from all parts of the world, primarily from Switzerland and other parts of Europe, but also from Ecuador and Cambodia and Kenya virtually. Corey, I also want to thank you too. Thank you so much for squeezing us into your lecture series. It seems to be a potentially productive first step in potential collaborations or partnerships, not just internally with the Draper and the Plains Indian Museum, but with all of our colleagues internationally. This conversation started about 14 months ago. I was contacted by email by Dr. Ellen Hertz, who was proposing a concept for their PhD program field trip to come to the Yellowstone region. And the conversation immediately, almost off the bat, it was obvious to see the potential for mutual collaboration and benefit, and as well as mutual interest as well. With their focus on the Yellowstone model, which I will not get into, they will explain that as part of their talk. But what this really relates to us in the Plains Indian Museum, myself and my colleague Hunter Olduck, the assistant curator of the Plains Indian Museum, we have been working over the last approximate 2 years to incorporate more landscape narratives into our gallery spaces and with our outreach programs and collaborations with the indigenous peoples of this region, particularly with a focus on public lands. And so it seemed really, really applicable to what we were doing. And so far it's been very informative, and we have learned a lot internally from our conversations with our colleagues about what we can do here within the museum, but also working with the tribes and so forth. And again, we hope that this is a first step into future relations and partnerships and collaborations. So I will pass the mic now. I don't want to take up too much time because we have a very novel and compelling talk with many speakers. Dr. Tobias Haller, please. Thank
you. Yes. Welcome everybody to this joint presentation, and many thanks to Corey and Gordon to make this happen, and also to Professor Ellen Hertz, who actually had the basic idea to come to Yellowstone. My name is Tobias Haller. As been said, I'm professor at the Institute of Social Anthropology, University of Bern, and I'm also the director of the Swiss graduate program in anthropology. Within this program, we are now on an excursion to the Yellowstone National Park with PhD students interested in national parks and issues of tourism, buffalo bison management, and wolf debates. But the students who will be presenting today are all they all deal in their own research with themes related to national parks and conservation, which are linked to the Yellowstone National Park as the first national park in the world, also separating humans and nature. Some of them have come with indigenous representatives with whom they do collaborative research during the time, and these First Nations peoples or indigenous peoples have come here also to share their views on the issue of nature conservation that impacts them most specifically, but also on their views more generally on human-environmental relations very, very broadly. The presentations we'll show today are cases which come from several parts of the world. From Ecuador, from Romania, from Kenya, and from Cambodia. The group who will be talking are Lisa Alvarado. Here she will be giving a theoretical input in our work regarding the perception of environment, also regarding ontology as the knowledge of the being of existing. And then together with our Kichwa colleague with whom she did research, Jose Narvaez, they will be showing how the Kichwa community in Ecuador are actually seeing views of the environment and how they are related to forests and animals. Then, furthermore, Esther Leemann from the University of Zurich, together with Neth Prak from the Bunong Indigenous group, will speak on the relation of the land, forests and animals in Cambodia. So this is Neth, this is Esther. Then, unfortunately, we will have Wilson Lemillion Masai from Kenya doing research with one of our PhD students, Samuel Weisman, who will share view via video on human-animal and elephant relations and element also relations in Kenya. Wilson cannot be with us, unfortunately, because he did not get a visa to come to the US, which is very unfortunate, but he will share his views via video. And finally, Ariane Zangger from the University of Bern will speak on human-environmental relations in the Carpathian Mountains. On the Carpathian Mountains regarding, in Romania, regarding human, wolf, and bear relations. So it is a mixed team, but all of them share insights which are in one way or the other shaped and impacted by external views on nature conservation, which stems actually from the Yellowstone National Park. But all of them provide also more general views on indigenous perception on local human environmental relations that people locally have and which are very important for local people. So which also extend the Western view of separation, nature and culture. The structure of our presentation will be as follows. First, we have Lisa Alvarado talking on Philippe Descola's perception of ontologies and how this is influencing also our work and our research. And then we will continue looking at examples on different perspectives, Kichwa Cosmology in Ecuador, then relations to land of the indigenous Bunong people in Cambodia. Next will be then in human environmental relations in Kenya and human wolf bear relations in Romania. That will follow by a conclusion, take-home messages, also regarding what is actually common in all these research, what can be concluded, and also as an input perhaps to the discussion which are taking place in the Yellowstone National Park. Many, many thanks. So next will be Lisa Alvarado giving us a theoretical input.
Hi everyone, and thanks Tobias for the introduction. So I will try to give you a short overview over one theoretical approach that we use in our team to give a context for what you're going to hear afterwards. So Philippe Descola is a French anthropologist known in social anthropology for his extensive work on human-environment relations. And his book, Nature and Culture, published in 2013, has had far-reaching repercussions because he presented a framework with which to categorize all the different ways of knowing and seeing the world that exist around the globe. He argues from a structuralist perspective that there are 4 fundamentally different but connected ways of seeing the world, which he calls ontologies. Just to have a definition, we put here the Oxford Dictionary definition of ontology, which is maybe a little bit different. It's basically the nature of being or of existence. And to me, worldview or way of seeing, of perceiving the world is maybe a way to put it more simply. So what you see here is Descola's 4 ontologies, his model, And we will start with the one ontology probably most familiar to most of us here, which is at the bottom left, called naturalism. This ontology, or way of seeing the world, makes a fundamental separation between humans and nature, where humans possess culture and subjectivity, while non-humans are seen mainly as objects governed by natural laws. This worldview has been and is being spread across the globe and can today be found in almost any corner of the world. However, and this is what we would like to show today, it's far from being the only view of seeing and interpreting the world. According to Descola, there are 3 other modes, and one is animism, which you see at the top left, a perspective where most beings are considered persons, and the difference between beings lies in appearance or in their bodies. An example would be that in the Ecuadorian Amazon, jaguars, monkeys, and trees are just as much persons with consciousness and intentionality as we humans. And this results in a world where all beings are seen as subjects capable of interaction, meaning that communication and even transformation from one being to another are possible. On the top right, you see totemism, a perspective from which certain groups of humans share a same origin with a certain animal or plant, often symbolized through totems. And the 4th ontology, according to Descola, is analogism, which you see at the bottom right. According to this perspective, we live in a fragmented world composed of an infinite number of singularities, which can be connected through analogies. This means that control over the perceived chaos of the world is achieved through ordering things, for example, with a calendar or with maps. Now, the aim of this talk is not to say that there are these 4 modes of viewing the world and now we should all become animists or totemists or whatever ontology we have just heard about, but to give an idea of the broad range of worldviews that exist. And people also criticize Descola's theory for its structuralist way of categorizing the whole plethora of perspectives into only 4 little drawers, as I like to call it. And I therefore want to emphasize that these categories that I just presented as separate entities in real life always intermix, and that the examples which we will hear in a moment cannot all be put into one specific category. However, we still think the model that Descola developed is helpful to get an understanding of the validity and the existence of the different modes of viewing the world. And if we now go over to give examples of different views of seeing the world, I would like to start with a local example of a naturalist ontology, which is Yellowstone National Park. So Yellowstone National Park can be considered an example of a naturalist ontology because it's based on this idea to separate humans from nature. Humans in Yellowstone are visitors, but they're not meant to live there. So nature becomes a thing out there which can be observed from a distance. And since Yellowstone, as the first national park, has been taken as a model to create similar parks almost all around the world, it shaped the way conservation is done today in most parts of the world, having far-reaching consequences for our Western understanding of human-environment relations. So next we will have Jose, Neth, Wilson through video, and Ariane telling us about different perspectives from Ecuador, Cambodia, Kenya, and Romania, where people live in intimate relations with their environment. Entonces, por favor, Jose. Jose will be talking in Spanish, which is his second language. His mother tongue is Kichwa, and I will be doing my best to translate everything to English. Could we have a second microphone? Sorry. Oh, is it these ones?
Señoras, señores, estimados Cody del estado Wyoming, saludos.
Dear everyone, dear Cody, dear state of Wyoming, hello and welcome to everyone.
Mi visita aquí he venido dar mi perspectiva como vivo en territorio ecuatoriano.
My visit here today is to share my way of living in Ecuador.
Y quería hablarle, estimados amigos, sobre la biodiversidad del ecosistema de Ñucanchi Causay.
I would like to talk to you about biodiversity, about ecosystems, and about Ñucanchi Causay, which means a good living.
Y justamente para la gente quichua amazónico del Ecuador, la biodiversidad, muchos entendidos en la materia, dicen la vida de los animales y de las plantas.
For us, people from the Ecuadorian Amazon, biodiversity and the ecosystem are words to describe our way of living with nature, with the environment.
Justamente para nosotros, para los quichuas, la biodiversidad es nuestra casa, nuestra vida. La conexión de los animales, la conexión de los bosques, la conexión de los ríos, la conexión de nuestra madre tierra.
For us Kichwa people, biodiversity is our house. It is our connection to the rivers, to the forest, to the plants, to the water.
Y es por eso yo considero, amigos, amigas, tenemos que dar la mano a nuestra madre tierra, que es Pachamama.
And therefore I consider, dear friends, that we need to shake hands with nature, which we call Pachamama.
En ese sentido quiero recalcar una breve historia de la comunidad Mushuliacta donde vivo yo.
For that, he would like to share the short version of the history of his community, Mushuliacta, in Ecuador.
Justamente antes tenía bosque, entré a sembrar productos monocultivos, productos tóxicos. Acabó ese trabajo, acabó ese dinero, quedamos sin la comida.
So in his community, they started to do monocultures, to use chemicals, to do agriculture, and over time everything finished. They didn't have anything was left, and that meant that also no more money was coming in.
Cuando un día yo sentí con todo rituaciones de ayahuasca, espíritu de la naturaleza, porque mi papá era yachaj, y dije, nunca es tarde.
Until one day he realized in an ayahuasca ceremony, which he learned from his father, who was a shaman, that it's never too late.
En ese entonces agrupé a las familias, 6 familias, ahora estamos 12 familias, y mucho más las comunidades. Sentamos a conversar en Guayusupina para decidir, estamos en camino mal, y transformarle al programa de restauración con bosques comestibles.
So he decided to unite the families that had the same idea. They started with 6 families, now there are 12 families, and they sat in their morning tea ceremony and discussed how to change their way of living, how they would like to change it.
Hoy en día, Mushulacta tiene comida del bosque, de la chacra, tienen aguas limpias y nuestra salud está en el bosque, nuestra dinámica, nuestra ciencia está en el bosque. Y es por eso rogamos a todos compañeros de territorio de diferentes países, tengamos esa oportunidad, dar la mano a Pachamama.
So today, their territory is again alive. They have their pharmacy, which is the forest back, and he would therefore like to ask anyone, all people around the world, to give a hand to Pachamama or Mother Nature, to live in harmony together.
Y justamente por último diría de que todos los parques he visitado y agradezco por conocer muchas alternativas, muchas conceptuadas ambientales, pero sin embargo necesitamos conectar, tener esa alianza con el Ecuador, con otros, para así lograr nuestro aprendizaje, dejar a la herencia hacia la generación.
And as a last thing, he would like to say that he's really grateful for all the things that he was able to see and learn here, and would like to emphasize the importance of alliances between different groups of people all around the world to work together to live with nature.
Y justamente mis trajes, donde tengo la corona en la cabeza, los collares que tengo puesta, eso no es para diferenciar que soy quichua, sino que es representativa de los materiales sagrados, donde que me da la comida, la medicina, los saberes y la ciencia que tenemos en nuestra cosmovisión ancestral.
And just as an explanation, the decorations that he's wearing is not to say that he's different from others, but to show the sacred plants. I mean, the decorations are made of sacred plants that connect him to his territory.
Así es que, amigos ciudadanos de Cody, Estado Wyoming, una vez más agradecerle con estas pocas palabras, me inspiro a tener una alianza muy ingrato. Gracias.
So, to all of you who are here today, thank you, and he is open for any kind of alliance that you would like to create. And I'm not sure, do we have time to show the video? No? Okay, so we will go on to Neth and Esther, who will be talking about human-environment relations in Cambodia. Thank you.
So after Ecuador, we now bring you to Cambodia. So my name is Esther Leemann. I'm a senior researcher and lecturer at the University of Zurich, Switzerland.
My name is Neth Prak. I'm a Bunong Indigenous people from Cambodia. We have been working together for 15 years.
So what you're seeing here is a map of Cambodia. It's a satellite image, and you see different layers of conservation areas and large-scale agriculture. So everything in light green are areas with some kind of nature protection. And these areas, red, blue, these colorful areas, These are actually various concessions for large-scale plantations, such as palm oil and rubber. So together, as you can see, they are covering a really large part of Cambodia. 2 points are interesting. First, you find these conservation and plantation areas in the mountainous regions, which are here, and you do not find them so much in the lowlands. The mountainous regions are predominantly home to the 23 indigenous groups of Cambodia. They make up about 1 to 2% of Cambodia's population. Second, you find an overlap of large-scale plantations right within areas that are supposed to be nature conservation areas. This was a deliberate choice of the government of Cambodia, which is in continued power since more than 30 years now. So that was a little bit of the context, the bigger picture. Now we go to Busra. This is this part. It's right on the border to Vietnam. And there is the Nam Lear mountain, which is right within Nam Lear Wildlife Sanctuary. And this is overlapping with Bunong Indigenous Territory, where Neth is coming from.
Yes, I would like to share about our relations, the Bunong people, society, and relation to the to the land, to our territories. So beside that, I would like to, because to explain about our belief. So the Bunong people, we believe in the spirits. So spirit, we have a different group of spirits. So the spirit of the natures. So the spirit of the nature is like a mountain, forest, rivers, like grounds, and so on. So this is the spirit of the natures, and then others we believe in the ancestors. So ancestors like people who are human, and then they pass away, and then they still alive. Their soul are still alive. So we believe in the spirit of also ancestor, and also we believe in the spirit of the rice and the foods. So rice, we have a lot of kind of rice, in the Bunong, and so all of these are like we have the spirit, and of course another spirit we have. So this I would like to explain that how we are very connect to the land and the forest and our society. So when because now it's big of the land and the forest has been gone, taken by the.
First go to this one, maybe you can explain.
Yes, sorry. The picture before was the mountain of the Nam Lear mountain before, and then the forest, and then these are the whole inside. The specific of this mountain is very important place for us. It's like secret place that where human born. So human born from the ground. For us, it's the human being, like all the perfect human in the ground. They are now a lot in the ground. So one time ago, the human decide to, from the ground, decide to live to the surface, to this world. So there was 15 men and 15 women. And then they came from the ground, from this Nam Lear, and from that. And there was they bring along with them differences, animals, the cow or buffalo or pig, chicken with them. And then also they bring like different kinds of agriculture seeds, no, and rice with them. But when they bring along with them one of the just to experiments for the 15 to live in this surface, and they bring with them, they carry with the one of animal is buffalo, one if have 2 heads. So the one behind almost come to the surface but block the head behind. That is the now cannot another human cannot come, only the 15, and then from the 15 is spread to the world today. I and you and we are from the mountain. That's why it's so secret place for this place for us. Yeah. Yeah, and then.
I take over here. Yeah. Okay. Great. So what you see here is a map of where Neth was just talking about. So Lemillion is right here. So this is where all human beings are coming from. It might be a surprise to you, but according to Bunong belief, this is where we are all coming from before that special buffalo with a head here and a head here was blocking the hole. So since then, we cannot go back, and the better part of humans cannot come up to the surface. That's the bad message. But so this is Phnom Lemillion Wildlife Sanctuary. This is the boundary of it. And you see right here these areas where nowadays there are rubber plantation. Before, in this Phnom Lemillion Wildlife Sanctuary, all land was covered with forest until 16 years ago. Bunong made small farms in the forest, and after about 3 years, they would leave the fields and the forest would regrow. That was sustainable. That is why there was a lot of forest, that it was all forest. Then the governments decided to grant these concessions for rubber plantations right within the wildlife sanctuary on indigenous land. And as you see, there is hardly any place left for the Bunong to make their farms today. So basically, only these areas, the dark green areas from the satellite image are left. Everything else is either conservation areas or these large-scale plantations. So we show you, to come to an end, we show you this picture. It is from 2010. It shows a Bunong father and son. They were displaced by one of the large-scale rubber plantations. That was the moment when you would drive and drive for half an hour through these cleared forests. And out of the large plantations covering, one of them covering almost 30,000 acres of forest, that's a company with an operational seat in Switzerland. So that's the connection to where I am from. And Neth will tell you now more about the impact on the Bunong people.
As you see, yes, there are forests gone, and this is just example, but there are a lot. So in our area, so now it's like from our belief and our societies, we like disconnect through all of these happens to our place. For example, we used to be like in the society we have. Like what I have told about how we related to the spirits and different spirits. Yes, but for now is if the forest is gone and the land is taken away, we have no right to implement the way we was. So this like the spirit that we used to, like especially the rice ceremony. All of this spirit is gone, and then we also like disconnect us from the place, and through the spirit of the rice, because there's no farm anymore, we could practice, And also like the forest, so we believe in the forest are spirit. So all of these spirit place, forest, especially specific place, we have called their name during the ceremony. For example, we call this the day to, and now when it's disappear, so all where to call, so because they are gone. So this a lot of impact to us, and a lot of people also in our society now convert to another group of belief because they're afraid of their ancestor and their forest is make problem to them because we don't respect, we don't protect them well. But it's not our mistake because from the company, from the taking. So it's this impact to us beside the livelihood and this also spiritual impact to us a lot.
So we now come to the presentation of our colleague from Kenya. So I hand over to.
So, thanks a lot. So we will come now to the next presentation of Wilson Lemillion. Wilson is a Maasai elder who will explain their ontology and their view of human-environmental relations in Kenya. Kenya is also a hotspot for pure nature conservation, and as he cannot be here, he made this recording in order to explain what's the Maasai view on how they relate to their environment.
So good morning, guys. How are you this morning? I'm doing good from my side. And sorry, my video misbehaved. So this morning I'm taking this short video to discuss about the connection between wildlife and people in the Maasai community or the Maasai culture. So I will begin by saying that some animals have some connection with people. Different animals have connection to different families. And therefore, they are respected in a way, and they are not killed. Examples of these connections, we have the Lukumai family, who are connected with the elephants, and the Proris are connected to hyenas. Lerantle, which is my family, are connected to some snakes, some different type of snakes. Rororkiek family are connected with all the snakes around, and so they have that connection. Lekodei family have the connection with thorns, and the Terewa family have connection with fire. And some families are connected with soil and others with water. And interestingly, if somebody kills an animal that they are connected with, then the animal family will revenge on that killing. So we also have lions connected with the Kinyaga family. Just to mention that I recently learned about some lessons or some experiences where somebody from Proris family killed their hyena, and their hyenas attacked their father's goats, and they killed 60 of them. And Lela Kinyaga, who is from Kinyaga family, once killed a lion, and the lions attacked their cows and they killed 7 cows from Kinyaga family. And this is just a revenge, and this is an example of a revenge that that connection will bring about. So that is much I can say about the connection between wildlife and people. We also have connections with natural features like mountains, rivers, whereby we have some sacred mountains where people would go and do their prayers. They will go and slaughter goats on top of those hills to ask rain during drought seasons. And also women would sing along the rivers, pouring some water with milk to ask for rain. This is during drought seasons when they are experiencing very severe abnormal drought. So these natural features are also connected to people because they are places of worship. The whole land is connected to people in that that is where they drive their livelihood, because as pastoralists they depend a lot on grass and grass for their livestock, and this grass cannot be found anywhere unless in the land. So that land is connected to them in that it provides food for their livelihood, which is pastoralism. So that is much I can say about the connection between people and the environment. Thank you very much.
So here you see already some of the elements which we were relating to the issue of ontology. I mean, a mixture between animistic and also totemistic ontology, the relation that families have with animals, and also environmental elements such as fire, but also mountains, as we also have seen in the Bunong case. So there are similarities there which already come up. Now we would move to Romania with Ariane Zangger showing us also the relation of local people there with their environment in relation to wolves and bears. Please, Ariane.
So, hello, everyone. I'm, as just mentioned by Tobias,
If the gain is low on the mic, just talk closer to this.
Closer like that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, according to official estimates, Romania is home to around 3,000 wolves and 8,000 bears. And before wolves came back to Western Europe in the 1990s, Romania was long regarded as one of the few European countries with a healthy population of bears, wolves, lynx, and other wild animals. Unlike in large parts of Western Europe, large carnivores were not eradicated in Romania. This has allowed a network of relationships to develop over the centuries that is characterized by local ecological knowledge, skills, tools, and above all, local rules and regulations. The rules and regulations, which we call institutions in our discipline, actively define and shape the relations between local people and their environment. During my field work in the Romanian Carpathians, which is around here, I came across stories that were similar in a sense to Descola's description of an analogistic ontology, or ontologies. We have just heard from Lisa that analogistic ontologies attempt to maintain control over a world perceived as chaotic through order. So examples of this order include calendars. In Romania, there is a popular tradition that is strongly orientated towards the Romanian Orthodox calendar, which organizes the religious year. In this calendar, each day is assigned to a holy figure associated with minor and major holidays and are accompanied by commandments and prohibitions. In the popular tradition, there are in addition days that are assigned to certain animals. For example, the Day of the Bear on 2nd February, or the holiday of Saint Andrew on the 30th November, who is venerated as the apostle of wolves in some areas of Romania. Descola describes the analogistic system as a closed universe in which humans live together with the environment, observing multiple precautions. He explains that within it, humans and animals have neither the same culture and ethics nor the same institutions. I would like to counter this and argue that in the context of Romania, the precautionary measures mentioned can also be seen as a set of rules that define and regulate human-environment relations. So what does that mean in concrete terms? When I was spending time with a shepherd and his sheep on a cold winter's day in February, he told me about the Day of the Bear, Ziua Ursului in Romanian. Observed as a holiday within the popular tradition, the unwritten rule is that no work should be done outside of what is necessary. The year before, the shepherd I was walking with, he found no calm on this day and ended up repairing the broken strap of a sheep bell. In the weeks that followed, a bear had been trying to attack his sheep all summer and eventually killed one of them. This taught him, so he told me, to respect the commandments on the Day of the Bear in the future. This example illustrates that Romanian shepherds embed their environment and the large carnivores in a network of relationships that is linked to social religious life. They live with the understanding of a socio-ecological system that keeps human-environment relationships in balance by observing precautionary measures and rules. If the rules are not observed or if boundaries are overstepped, for example also from the other side when wolves attack livestock, the relationship becomes unbalanced and there can be negative consequences for both sides. For us as scientists, it's important to understand these complex networks of relationships because they are the basis of coexistence.
Many thanks, Ariane. Now, what do these different examples sort of show? We come to some conclusions and take-home messages, of course. I mean, the whole topic is very broad and many differences, but there are also similarities. One is that very different ways of seeing the world from human-environmental relations, so to see that people are really actually connected or feel connected to this environment. They don't feel that they are alone, but they have to communicate also with this world. Second, most conservation practices today, they are really on this separation, on this separate issue between humans and nature, or nature and culture, which can be called, following Descola, naturalism. Then natural park and nature conservation impact and change these local perspectives because they often do not pay attention to these local views and actually also sort of sidelined them. And this is also based, these issues are based on ontologies that differ from naturalism. So that's the basis that local people have, that they view the environment differently from this naturalist view. And last but not least, recognizing that these different ontologies exist and that they are part actually of local sustainable conservation and coexistence. Actually, one could add here that many of these groups view themselves together with the environment as a commons, actually as connected, as collectives to the environment, and also that these rules and regulations Ariane was talking about, that these can be shown in all these cases, that actually this relationship is based on rules and regulations on both sides, which is also part of a type of a commoning that these local people have with their environment and also shape then this environment. With this, we would like to thank you very much for your attention, and I welcome everybody who presented here in front of the stage, and please give our colleagues and also the representatives from indigenous groups a warm applause. Thank you very much for your attention. So now I think we have some time also for questions. If you have questions which came up during the presentation, please ask them now, and we will have all these people here to be able to address them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming and sharing your perspectives with us. This was really awesome. I'd like to ask you now, what are your dreams and aspirations? Where do you want your nascent program to lead into the future?
So probably I can start. So we would like to bring attention to these various issues so that local people's perspectives are integrated when these conservation projects are taking place. That would be our vision. What we also do here is to bring together from many parts the different issues so that we see it's actually a pattern and it's happening globally. And the idea really is that local people and scientists form alliances to bring these issues to the various governments, but also to the conservation organizations. Something to add here, yes.
Gracias por esta pregunta. Y justamente nuestro programa y nuestro proyecto y nuestro sueño que está basado dentro de la naturaleza. Queremos inculcar a nuestros hijos. Ellos son los únicos que van a defender posteriormente. Por ese sentido, yo digo este programa, todos unamos, damos la mano hacia nuestro Madre Tierra.
So he said, thank you for the question, and that to him, the ultimate goal is that our children, who are the ones who will be there, the only ones who will be there in the future to defend what we have, actually have something to defend. So that's why he asks like for the alliances and to give a hand to Mother Nature.
Okay, just to add short. Yeah, for us indigenous people there, we would like for example, like what happening now is like they don't recognize us as we are existing in that area. So please recognize us. We used to be on the land since the, I don't know, million years, I don't know. So this thing, and then the project from the, for example, corporation company, the same, like is taking away a lot, and then our conservation is look like we are not existing. So they just care about more than the animal is more than the indigenous people there. This is the behaviors in the Cambodia, but I don't say another place, I'm not sure. yeah, this just to say that, please, we are there, and then work with us. Maybe it's to work with us, close with us, like together, maybe good, like from the indigenous people, what we want, and what also from the environment want. Together, we work together. This could be successful for the future, for the environment, because we used to be protect the area a long time ago. We have never like do something bad to the environment. So from our own ways. So so not only like now we are come there from the project, from the government conservation area. Like okay, now it is go away. So this is maybe we don't want to have like this.
Perhaps very quickly, as Wilson cannot be here, and it's a bit awkward to speak on his behalf, but as far as I understood, also from the research of our PhD, Samuel Weissman, my position regarding conservation is also, I mean, we've been here living together with all these animals, and we had rules also to protect these animals before colonial times. So these animals were there when the colonial masters came. So we would like actually to continue living the way we are as pastoralists, but we are restricted also by protected areas because we cannot be mobile and migrate between the different areas. But we are accused of overusing the pastures, we are accused of killing animals, and this is very problematic. So they would like to be more included actually in the whole conservation issue, and also that there's the recognition that they've been actually living together with these animals for a very, very long time. Thank you. So, are there more questions? Yes?
So I was just wondering if tourism has played an effect in the different areas for positive or negative effect.
Gracias. La pregunta, contestando, tal vez en mi territorio el turismo ha dado una fortaleza como positivo también. También ha dado una negativa, pero en aprender. Entonces, esas cosas considero de que también no está mal, sino que únicamente debemos conectar tanto los visitantes, tantas comunidades, en consenso somos todo. Y es por eso considero hay partes positivas, hay partes negativas, pero mayor cosa por aprender. Gracias.
Okay, try to translate everything. So he says that yes, tourism has and is having an impact in his territory. There are positive things that tourism gives strength to local communities, but also negative impacts in that it contributes to loss of ancestral knowledge on the other hand. So for him, the most important thing in the relations between tourism and local communities is that there's a mutual learning process.
Yes, for us, tourism impact to our community is like tourist company, for example, they grant land or waterfall. It's very famous waterfall, Busra waterfall, and now it's not belong anymore. Like indigenous people, they are this place like very spiritual place for us also, and and now it's belong to the company, so run by the company, and then only the benefit is to the company, not to the local people. That is in our place.
I can say something about tourism and the relation between human and large carnivores. In Romania, there is like a procedure of ecotourism that is linked with bear observations, mainly done by hunting grounds, and it's like there are two narratives, I would say, that are linked with that. So one narrative is from the organizations that are doing the bear tourism, saying, yeah, we keep the bears away from the crop and the livestock. They are they occupy themselves with the food that is around the observatories. And then the other narrative, maybe coming more from the shepherds community, saying, well, the bear tourism is attracting bears and is helping that bears getting used to humans, and that they learn that human is also, there is also coming a source of nutrition or food.
Perhaps very quickly from a Maasai perspective, as far I can say from the research, it's really also many Maasai feel excluded from the revenues that is generated from tourism, and from the tourism with this naturalist ontology separating nature and culture, where there's a type of a double or triple loss. First, land is taken away. Second, people don't profit from the incomes. And thirdly, they're not recognized that they have been part actually of living together with these animals, and that these animals are also there because they have this care notion of the animals, because also of their institutional structured relationship. So the commoning is no longer possible, and this is also a spiritual problem for some of the Maasai. Any other questions, please? We still have a bit of time.
Pass this back, please.
Less of a question, more of an observation. So, listening to the talk, the concepts of flagship species and umbrella species in conservation kept popping up in my head, and how, you know, to generate money for conservation, certain species like pandas and eagles are put out there so that they can raise money and protect these species. So when I was listening to the presentation, that concept kept popping up in my head, because they, in the presentation, talked about how particular families or tribes or groups are connected to specific plants or animals. And in many ways, it just, an observation seems to me like they're the advocates for those particular species, to protect them, to make sure that they're there for future generations. So in a way, it just seems to me indirectly, we have, in the concept of umbrella species and flagship species, applied what people have talked about here today. Like I said, less of a question, more of an observation.
Okay. Thank you. Does everybody want to react to this? Perhaps Jose or Neth? So we wait for the translation. It was a comment, observation, yes. I mean, I think this is an interesting observation again, but I think the issue also of the concept of keystone species is perhaps also something related to this naturalist sort of ontologies, where also the connections between the animals, etc., between the mountains and also the plants, even agricultural plants such as rice. I mean, this is a completely different way of seeing things. In all these other ontologies, more connected actually between humans and this environment, and in the naturalist ontology, much more separated. So saying, well, this is the most important animal, that if we protect this, we get nature protected. And I think I mean, I cannot speak for all these people, but just from what I understood from their ontologies, this is not the point. The point is to have a commoning with all. Otherwise, it is not working. And I think this is also the message to the Yellowstone context, where a lot of conflicts also taking place, which are the animals to be protected, what's the relation to the outside of the park, what's the story, who has the narrative actually to say what should be protected, what is it that we have here. And I think what these presentations also have shown is that we are dealing with cultural landscape ecosystems, and Yellowstone also was and still is to a part a cultural landscape ecosystem, not pure nature. And perhaps this is one of the take-home messages that we can have from all these different areas and experiences. I don't know, I mean, it was not an answer, but just a comment also to your comment. Thank you very much. So I think this was the last comment. So thanks a lot for coming here to this extraordinary sort of event. And I hand over to Corey, perhaps, and thanks a lot for being here and listening. Thanks.